Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Siena Alumni Connection. I'm your host, C.C. O'Reilly, and today we are joined by Diana Ostroff from the class of 1994. She's from Ostroff Associates, and we are so excited to have you on the show. Diana, thank you so much for coming on the Siena Alumni Connection today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, you have a great story because you're working all throughout the Capital District, mainly out of your office right across the street from the Capitol. But you were born and raised in Loudonville. You've stayed in the area most of your life, and the work that you do in the Capital District is very influential. But you're also heavily involved at Siena College. So I kind of want to talk about your involvement with the School of Business Advisory Council, what that is, because for people that might not know about it, there's a lot to unpack there, but the role that you serve at Siena, the role that you do day to day, but also why you like to serve for Siena College as well. So then let's just start with something easy, a little softball question for you. You grew up in Loudonville. What made you decide, you and I were both similar. We were Vikings, we were bold, but what made you end up deciding on Siena?
I actually have always loved Siena campus. I love Siena. It had such a great reputation that I always knew I wanted to go to Siena. That was always my goal. Everybody that I knew that graduated from there was very happy. Everyone got really great jobs right out of school, which was of course important. And the campus, I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful there.
Yeah. It does. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. So, being from Loudonville, I knew the gem we had here. And I really wanted to attend the school.
Well, we're glad you did. And I was similar to you in the sense that, once I kind of saw what was behind, that building on Route 9, you actually can't believe it's kind of a hidden gem for a lot of local students. And I honestly did not think that Siena was going to be my calling card. I always wanted to leave the area, but when you see how beautiful the campus is, really, it does sell you. And the opportunities that I think that it offers you to kind of explore what you want to do early on is beneficial as well. Did you know that you always wanted to go into politics, or how did you end up deciding what major you wanted to select?
Not at all. My parents owned a small business, and I knew I liked business, and I liked working and reading about corporations, how they ran, how they become most effective, and I wanted to do something in that space. So I was actually a business major, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed marketing. I became a marketing major because I thought everything in this world is marketed to us. So what a great opportunity to get a degree in that, because everybody needs somebody that can market their products or their services. And I really enjoyed our classes. I specifically remember my marketing classes because we had some teachers that were actually in the workforce for many years and then came back to teach at Siena. And I just found their teaching to be so important because it was real life stories of what happened on the outside of school, and what was going on and how you grew market share. And I just really enjoyed that aspect of the business. We have surprise. I'm joined by another Siena grad from my office, hello. Kathleen Digan.
Hey, Kathleen, welcome to the Siena Alumni Connection.
Bro, how are you, Colin?
I'm great. Thank you so much. By the way, we're recording this episode on Siena Giving Day, but thank you so much, Kathleen, for your donation today as well.
Of course, always happy to donate on Giving Day. How are you guys doing on campus?
We're doing great. We're doing great right now. Our students are, pushing through the spring semester. It's kind of like a fast-paced one. I wish we were looking forward to the NCAA tournament a little bit more this week, but
I know.
Yeah,
Ian and I are season ticket holders usually.
That's so right.
During usual years. Yeah.
I was very excited to hear that we might be going back to the Times Union Center from when you spoke to the School of Business students, but it's always good to have the high hopes. It always is.
That's right. But we were just talking about, me coming from Loudonville and being at school and why I want to go there. And, it's a gem of a school. But one of the things at Ostroff Associates, we have a lot of Siena alum that work here. We find kids that go to Siena make great adults, and they, as you know, Kathleen's been with us for a while now. She's not a kid anymore, but, really prepared for the workplace. And I think they're able to come into the workplace with a skill set that is at a high level compared to some of the other schools. which is obviously what employers like.
Absolutely. And I know we'll be getting into the School of Business Advisory Council, and I have questions about the AACSB accreditation too, that you help us basically get accredited every few years. But Kathleen, you've been involved with Siena since graduating, and you're on the board of advisors as well. So, this is kind of a great opportunity to kind of say, once you left Siena and you were in the area, what was it? This is a perfect interview, by the way, too. So Kathleen, thanks for coming on. Once you graduated, what made you want to stay involved with Siena as an alumni?
I mean, I obviously loved my time at Siena, and my professors particularly, Dr. Cutler, Dr. Naranj, Dr. Carius Kelly were just so helpful with me with getting jobs and internships that I just really wanted to, give back and help students out with the same. One of the things I was really involved with at Siena was Student Senate. So it was, always good to, go back and try and talk to those students and help out. And when some opportunities arose, I jumped at them. I really love being a member of the board. It's a great way to help recruit students as well as talk to current students and maybe get them with some job placement.
That's great. And I'll ask you the same question, Diana.
Well, I got involved because I had saw what Siena did for me. And I want to make sure that the students that were graduating had all the opportunities given to them that I was given by alumni before me. And I think it's really important to help out the younger generation that's graduating. And what better than alumni?
Excellent. And we're extremely grateful that you do give back and you also help our students as well, because I think when we're recruiting after 7 years in admissions, I can say there's nothing better than when you can have that return on the investment that you sell. When you can tell a student that we're going to have your back for 4 years and then the rest of your life as well. And you stay involved. It's a great community of people to interact with, whether you're changing jobs, changing locations, there's always a friendly face when it comes with a Siena education.
Well, what we want to do though, is make sure that everyone graduating is employed. That's very, very important to the business school. And it's important to this advisory council. And we want to make sure the students have the skill sets necessary to be successful in any position they choose. But, our goal is to get 100% of students jobs upon graduation. That's our goal.
And I graduated during the last recession, the last time we had this. And I remember I was walking into a final at Siena and I got a call offering me a job in Senator Breslin's office at the state capitol. And I was like, this is great. I have to go take this final and I'll call you right back. And, just knowing I had a job before I even walked across that stage was such a good reassuring feeling. And, I'd like to credit Siena to that, as well as, help other Siena students achieve the same.
Couldn't agree more. And Kathleen, you graduated in 2010, correct?
Yep, 2010.
Yep. And I was right behind you in 2012. And I think, we were just getting out of it at that point, and everybody that graduated prior to me, that was the topic of conversation. We were thinking about jobs sophomore year of college because everyone ahead of us was worried just as much as you were. But moving forward, it's amazing how much has changed just since 2010, 11 years later. We have so many new majors, so many new programs, so many things that the majority of students coming into Siena now are studying, and they weren't around when we first applied to Siena. And I think that's attributed back to what Diana's going to say here.
Let's not forget the new MBA program that we worked on.
Absolutely.
That's we worked very hard on that, and the advisory committee was very active in making sure that their new skill sets, the hard part with education sometimes is making sure that you have classes that are innovative based on the time and not a couple year lag. So the advisory council really sits with the school and talks about what the current needs are, what are the things that are hot that employers are looking for now. And they incorporate those into the classrooms, which I don't know if the students realize that that information is coming straight from corporations and businesses locally here. So the feedback that we do provide to the school, I think is really valuable.
I couldn't agree more. And especially when we only offered 6 to 7 majors for the longest time within the School of Business. Now there's 25 plus business concentrations that are so unique and specific, where now you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into, I want to find a school that has this specific major. I can find Siena that allows me to have 7 different backgrounds if I want to, before graduating and going into the MBA program.
Well, and then Kathleen, for example, represents Tesla. So you can imagine that's state of the edge. All these new ideas are, brand new. And working on those type of issues, and then being able to talk about them, and us learning in our office space what major companies are looking for and what is the newest and the greatest out there, and then bringing it to the school. It's just so valuable to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I always say in this job, at least in this field, it's you never have a boring day because you're always learning about what different companies want and need, from small nonprofits to Fortune 500 companies, and taking those experiences and utilizing it to give back to Siena is always helpful.
I still think Tesla is pretty cool.
When I found that out during the School of Business lecture series, I was just like, wow. And then I looked up all the companies that you lobby for, your office lobbies for. It's amazing. Like the reach that your office has right from Albany, New York,
Well, and that's
crazy to think about.
Yeah, and that's a nice thing. I mean, we're here in Loudonville, New York, and we touch major corporations throughout the world. I mean, we represent Walmart, FedEx, Tesla. I mean, we have probably a client in every industry. So we touch all industries right here out of, the capital region. And what's nice is we have a 2.5, 3-hour commute to New York City if we need to. You're close to Boston, you're close to major places, but really you can do it all right here in the capital region. And I don't think kids realize how much opportunities there are in the capital region. And the cost of living is wonderful compared to some of these major cities. I mean, these kids in New York City that are renting small places, you can buy a house here in Albany for that price.
That was one of the appeals for me going to Siena too, was, I grew up in the Syracuse area, and Syracuse felt a little bit more isolated. You were 5 hours away from New York City and all of that.
Right.
And I was looking at schools, over that way. And I just remember coming to Albany being like, wow, I'm just this much closer to like New York City and Boston, like what you can do on the weekends. And I really liked that we had, the cost of living and the benefits of still being in upstate, which, a lot of people know I love upstate New York, but being able to have this outreach to those places at the same time. And you're only a couple hours from skiing too. So I chose to stay here after I went to Siena, and I never left Albany after that. So
we're very grateful that you did.
So are we. And I gotta say, as the same type of person that, grew up here his entire life, always wanted to leave. I wanted to actually also go west. I love, both my family's from Rochester, but I love, this area more and more as I get older. It's convenient to everything. It's a great location, and the amount of opportunity is endless. But just really quickly, the one problem with this show is that we have to kind of take a break because we have to do some underwriting things coming up right after this. So can I have you guys hang out for just a couple more minutes before we come back?
Sure.
All right, perfect. Hang tight. We're listening to the Siena Alumni Connection here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. And welcome back to the Siena Alumni Connection. I'm CC O'Reilly, and today we are joined by Diana Ostroff from Ostroff Associates, also Kathleen Digan from the class of 2010, and Andrew Kennedy from the class of 2001. We have a full Siena Alumni Connection show today, and thank you all so much again for coming on 88.3 The Saint. We really appreciate it.
So happy to be joining you.
So Andrew, you're the newest person to the episode today. We were just talking about why we ended up choosing Siena, and then also the benefits of just staying in the Capital District afterwards. So why did you end up choosing Siena?
One, it was the proximity to the state capital. I always had an interest in working in government, the strong sort of political science program. And then, I think, with me given the opportunities that I had, early on in my career in state government, staying in the Albany area made sense. And then I took a brief hiatus and I ran a local nonprofit for close to 5 years. And I didn't realize what a great, strong connection Siena has in the Capital Region's business community as well.
Great. And then you're within a year in at Ostroff Associates. How's it been going for you with the whole Siena crew over there?
It's been good. So it was our Siena connections made it hard not to say no to the opportunity to join the firm. And I've known Rick and Diana for close to 15 years, and it's been it's a great working relationship, and we're looking forward to having the firm continue to grow.
We're Siena alumni.
Yes.
Right.
Perfect. Well, that brings me to a question I had, because Diana, you said that you get great employees when you hire Siena grads, and they just stand out amongst the bunch. What do you think it is in the 4 years at 515 Loudon Road? What do you think it is about those 4 years that makes students so much different when they go right into the workforce from college?
I think when the students are graduating or when we're seeing them in internships, we're seeing a different level of, I don't want to say that they know everything, but they're very confident in the workload. They're confident knowing that they're going to be able to learn and be able to execute anything that's given to them. And I think that's based off of a lot of the schoolwork that's giving to them within the 4 years, and how the teachers hold them responsible and some of the presentation skills. But you can definitely tell the difference between Siena grads and other school grads. And I believe, and in my opinion, that the Siena grads are a bit more professional when they're coming into the office right out of school. So we're doing something right.
I would agree so. And, you know, Diana, I know you're a graduate of the School of Business, but Kathleen, were you School of Liberal Arts or School of Business?
School of Liberal Arts. I actually went to Siena with the idea of being a history teacher. And so I was a history major at first. I often joke that I minored in Father Dan when I did switch to a history minor. He actually married me. So, but anyway, I joined Siena Democrats in the club fair freshman year. And I worked on the Kirsten Gillibrand for Congress campaign back in '06 and just really caught the political bug. And within 2 years, I switched to a political science major, and here I am today. So it just goes to show too, when you enter college, like the major you start with doesn't be the one you end with. So, and Siena provides a lot of different opportunities for you to explore what your real interests are. So
That's great. And Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, I graduated with a degree in political science, and I also got the certificate of business program as well. So I was able to do both through the Siena program, which gave me a lot strong background in public finance, which is kind of where I focused on and spent a lion's share of my career in state government, working in the for doing fiscal policies for the state of New York.
And now that's benefiting our clients.
Yeah.
It's always a win when we can make that happen. And what that, Kathleen, you touched on something that, I also changed my major when I got to Siena. I also transferred in just like Diana did from Hudson Valley. And it's kind of interesting when you have a school, that you can transfer into, change your mind a few times and still get out in 4 years and have a job upon graduation. There's a lot to be said about that. And I don't think I'm the only one who had a track like that as well. And I think it comes down to the size of our school and just the type of care that we have for each individual student to kind of find out what they love and continue on and find out different ways to, find employment in what they love. And Diana, you talked about this last month in the School of Business lecture series, and I wanted to kind of touch on it again, the importance of internships for students and just finding their career path.
Absolutely. And this is something that we're continually talking about, because we believe that every student should have a great internship experience, whether it be done through the school or some students actually find it maybe in their hometowns. But we believe having the internships is so valuable in that you learn how a business culture is, you learn about an industry that you might be thinking of, or you learn that you don't like that industry and maybe want to veer somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's critical. It's critical. And I would say that every company on our advisory council believes that internship should be, a necessary rule for every graduate, because it's invaluable experience. It's really difficult to determine what you want to be as a freshman or even a sophomore or even a senior. There's so many opportunities out there that students haven't been able to be exposed to yet. I didn't take political science like these two. I actually was a business major, and I was working for the Business Council in New York State part-time while I was working at Siena, and they offered me a job when I graduated. I said, you'd make a great lobbyist. I'm like, that's great, but I like business. I have nothing about political science. But, one of the things that I had talked to in my last speech is, career paths. There's paths. You might think you want something, and then an opportunity arises that you might enjoy, and you should pursue that. And that's what I did, and I really enjoy what I do now.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when I was a political science major, I had toyed around with maybe I want to go into, the media, the quote, fourth branch of government. And I did an internship at Meet the Press when I was at Siena for one summer in DC. And while that was a great experience, I just decided then like media wasn't the focus I wanted to do. And that was so great that I was able to have that experience, learn that in a summer internship, and like refocus into actually like working inside a political office. Because at that time, that's what I wanted to do. So I went to work for the state Senate, then Congress, then the School Board Association, and now here. So internships provide such great experiences.
And this will be your last job
Yeah,
ever.
last job ever. Last job ever, last job ever. So,
One of the things that I think I love most about Siena is the fact that 50% of our students come in undecided, whether that be exploring business, exploring science, exploring liberal arts. But the idea of coming in saying, I don't know, is getting a lot more popular now, but there's that fear as a high school student to say, I don't know. They want to come in saying, I'm paying this amount of money to get this degree because I'm going to be a lawyer. They want that blueprint. But I think the reality is 95% of students don't really know what they want to do the rest of their lives. And I always use the example of human resources. It's like, no one goes to college to be a human resources director. They find out it's a great field and they end up being good at it. But truthfully, I think you have to go in open-minded and you have to get the experience. And it comes down to, doing those types of in-person experiences like internships. And we're very beneficial. We're very fortunate, I should say, to have the SOBAC committee and BOA and so many alumni that participate with our faculty and our leadership on campus to make sure that we're getting the new majors, we're getting the types of programs, we're making sure that there's a 4-year path to have that type of success that eventually will lead to 100% job placement rate across all majors in the School of Business too. Now, we have a few more minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
To a client Zoom, but it was so good to talk to everybody today. And it was good to
Kathleen,
see
thanks for
you.
coming on.
Yeah, of course. You guys take it from here.
Well, I feel bad because I was going to turn it over to the fun part of the conversation, but we've got a few more minutes left. So I want to go back to when you were students. What was one of the things that surprised you the most as a Siena student? Let's start with that one, and then we're going to go to the funniest story as a Siena student too.
I don't know. I wasn't trying to think the funniest. So when I went to school there, they still had the bar and the dance club on the weekends, like one night. So, and I'm trying to think what the name of it was, but I'm going back a little.
Oh, the Rathskeller?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of living on campus for all 4 years, living in, the dorms for 2, and then being lucky as a junior and then a senior to live out in the townhouses. So, I mean, I think it's, those are always, great memories of sort of being out there and being able to, hang out with, the friends, those that are in our, those that were in the halls, I think, especially sophomore and junior years, because again, you really have your core group and those friendships continue to this day. And I think, a lot of it also too is just, being around, groups of people with similar interests, similar goals and objectives, and it, created a great opportunity, for us, 20 years later. So.
Great. And what about the most surprising thing once you became a Siena student?
Mine was a very long time ago. I have to really think hard. Okay, I'll tell a funny story. So I think it was, we used to have to give presentations in class and we would have to be in full suit, just like you were going into a corporate boardroom. And it was winter time, and being a female and wearing a suit with a skirt on, I would always park in the teacher's parking lot. But back then, when you got tickets, it automatically went into your tuition bill. So my parents had no idea that I was getting all these tickets. I thought it was like a parking fee. I was like, really, hundreds of dollars of parking fees. But I remember I used to do that all the time because I commuted. I didn't stay on campus.
Gotcha.
So
Well, I mean,
I missed out a little.
completely different world now with Uber and the transportation system, the buses that you guys have to bring students there. So we were always adventurous and trying to get out in and around Latham and Loudonville, and trying to even get into Albany sometimes. So it's always, life would have been, so much easier and different now that we've got Uber and all the other transportation options. So.
Yeah, we had the Spring Street walk down to DAPS, probably back in your time. That was a little bit of exploring that we no longer have to do, which is great.
That, or sometimes the walks to Old Amons on, if we're talking about St. Patrick's Day, walking up, walking that way, or even down to the old boathouse. So
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Well, we're coming up towards the end of the interview, and I just want to thank you both, and thank you, Diana, for bringing in your colleagues as well onto the Siena Alumni Connection today. A fun thing I like to ask every guest we usually have is, do you have any questions for me?
Well, you have an interesting background because I read up all about you before I came on this. So, local Loudonville guy, goes to Hudson Valley, goes to Siena's, back here in Loudonville working, well, remotely right now, but
Yep.
what do you like about this area the most?
Well, I'm a diehard Buffalo fan, so I've always wanted to go out west. My family's from Rochester, but what I think I love most about this area is that I'm close to Buffalo. Compared to if I was in New York City, if I was anywhere else, that's a very doable drive. But what surprised me most is that I don't want to leave this area. Every time I think about it, it just gets harder and harder to think about that as an opportunity, as a possibility. But seeing Siena grow the way it has since I've graduated in such a short amount of time makes me even more excited about the next 10 years. To see Siena just get bigger and better every single year. It's eventually going to be the Ivy League school of the 518. I'm calling it. I've been saying it as a joke. We're number one in all categories, but sooner than later, it'll become a reality.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting, both my wife and I are not from the capital region, but both being alumni, we haven't moved more than 3 miles from Siena in our, in my 20 years and her 15 years of being back in Albany. So it's just been it's a great, it's been a great school, great sort of network. And then especially now as our kids are getting older, we're reconnecting with a lot of the other Siena alum that we knew from class and knew from school, who have kids around the same age throughout North Colony. So
fantastic. Well,
and I'm walking distance from the school.
Yeah.
So I see all the Siena kids running on my street.
Right.
I love it. I go to the Starbucks on Newton Plaza and talk with the kids there. I love being in the area, and just the energy Siena kids bring to Loudonville, it's just incredible.
Oh, it would be a completely different place if it was still just an asparagus farm.
Exactly.
Well, thank you both so much for coming on the Siena Alumni Connection. You can catch this show on WVCR 88.3 The Saint, also on WVCR.com, iHeartRadio, and on our Alumni Relations YouTube channel. You're listening to the Siena Alumni Connection on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. Go Saints!